Our first speaker is Dr. Ted Baehr. He is the chairman of Christian Film and Television Commission and publisher of Movie Guide, as well as a noted critic, educator, and lecturer. His life's purpose is to educate audiences on how to use discernment in selecting their entertainment. Ted has written numerous books. He was president of the organization that produced the CBS television version of The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, boasting 37 million viewers and winning an Emmy Award. Ted produces at least 430 radio and television programs every year. He produced hundreds of programs for PBS television. He presents the report to the entertainment industry every year at the annual Movie Guide Faith and Values Awards Gala. He is chairman of the advisory board of the Christian Institute for the Study of Media at the Center for the Arts, Religion, and Education at the Graduate Theological Union at the University of California at Berkeley. He has received many awards. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ted Baehr.
Well, that was such a great introduction that now I don't have to say anything. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Who was that you were talking about? I want to thank Ed for putting on this event. Ed, you've done a wonderful job. At the beginning of it, he says he's not an organizer. I think he's organized a great group. I see this whole place is filled with people since I was sitting in the back there. So congratulations, Ed. Thank you for all you've done for us. And I want to thank my wife, who's standing over there in the red, who's going to take a few pictures, and Peter, who's running our table over there. If anybody wants a free movie guide or a free Constitution and Declaration of Independence, go to our table. I think all we ask is millions of dollars and your name, your address, your phone number, and your social security number. We're going to talk about religious freedom today, and this is a talk that's aimed at equipping you. It's not about us, it's about you. It's about helping you to be equipped to take every thought captive so that you can stand up for religious freedom. You all know, because I can see the crowd here and I can see your signs, that religious freedom is the very cornerstone of all of the rest of our freedoms. But let me explain that in a little bit more depth, and before that, I'll give you a little bit of background about why I'm in the entertainment industry. My father was a cowboy star in the 30s. His name was Tex Allen. My mother was a star with MGM. Many years I was a total pagan. I'll tell you about that in a second. But then God got a hold of me, which is why I'm here today. The story that we're facing, which is taking away our religious freedom, many of you know, is a story as old as time. It happened in the garden. Can you think of anything nicer than walking with God, talking with God, sharing time with God, being with God? And there was one in the garden, the adversary, who wanted to take us away from God. As James Madison said, and as Jefferson said, what is true religion, George? True religion is the duty we owe our Creator. It's knowing God and making Him known. And that's what the adversary didn't want. And throughout history, whether it's Ahab and Jezebel, or whether it's Cicero or Nero, it's throughout history, people are trying to take away the rights. In fact, I was just speaking in Russia at 3 universities. They were the central universities for spreading the word of communism throughout the world. They were the University of Television, the House of Journalism, and the University of Film. When I was speaking in Moscow at those 3 universities, I passed the pictures of the people who'd gone to the Film Academy, started in 1919 by Lenin. Lenin felt that if he could control the mass media, he could control the world. So he started this in 1919, the oldest film academy. On the wall, the second picture was the picture of Eisenstein. Who was Eisenstein? Eisenstein was Lenin's Goebbels. He was the guy who made the movies that converted people to Marxism. How do I know how good he was? Is because I was teaching in India a couple of years ago. I got to go back and teach in India in November. And I was trying to reach the people with the gospel of Jesus Christ in Bollywood, at the heart of the Indian movie industry, which makes 4 times as many movies as we do in Hollywood. As I'm reaching them, they come in and they say, we all want to become communists. Why? They had just seen this 1923 film from Eisenstein. That's how powerful he was. That's what Lenin wanted. And if you look on that wall in Moscow, you see the faces of people who came to the United States and ran the film industry. This is quite incredible. I don't think you see that connection anywhere else in the world. So there in the heart of Moscow, I'm expecting at these universities, because I was chairman of a department at Berkeley, I expect a little kickback. At Berkeley, I've always got some wonderful student that I can argue with about faith and freedom. And I grew up on the same side as the leftists, so I can do that in a pretty good fashion. But at the House of Journalism, they all said, we want to support faith and freedom. At the TV university, they said, we want freedom, and we're Christian. The head of the department at the Film Institute said, I'm a Christian, and this is a state school. 82% of the Russians now say that they're Christian. Now this is coming from extreme oppression. You know that Solzhenitsyn said, why did all the oppression of communism occur? Because people have forgotten God. At that time, during the days of Stalin and Lenin, 60 to 120 million people were killed. 2/3 of the churches were torn down. Priests were killed all over the place. Everybody I talked to had a family member who had been hit by the communist, Marxist, humanist revolution. What did Marx call communism? The ultimate humanism. And when they threw off the shackles, when Yeltsin threw off the shackles of communism, people came out of the woodwork to say, we still believe in God. They're rebuilding the churches. The trouble is, we don't understand that history. And they kept saying to me while I was there, you know, today there are more Marxists in the United States, probably at Berkeley, where I was chairman of the department, than there are in Russia. Nobody wants to go back to the Gulag. They don't want to do this. So today in the United States, we're going in exactly the wrong direction. Now, why is that? In the 1930s, Stalin said, America's resistance is threefold. It's patriotism, it's morality, and it's spiritual life. Stalin said, if we can undermine these three areas, we will collapse from within. You know, I know that the patriotism, the morality, and the spiritual life, if you had told my father, who didn't come to Christ until he was in his 70s, if you told him that the level of degradation that we see today was in society, he would have been shocked. And I grew up on Broadway, behind the scenes, in some of the most debauched area. Nothing compared to what we have today. Why is all this happening, as Solzhenitsyn said? Because people have forgotten God. When I got up to NYU Law School, I was a product of the humanist education. I thought Christians were villains. I didn't even read the Constitution. I thought the Founding Fathers were a bunch of doddering old men. And then I went on to work at the U.S. Attorney's Office, finance 5 feature films, put together the financing, and some little old lady, now remember this is to equip all of you here, said to me, will you just read the Bible and tell me why you don't like it? It took me 5 months. I kept being reminded. I promised her I was going to read the Bible. I didn't want to read the Bible. I started reading the Begats. I said, this is unintelligible, George. What am I going to read? But then in the middle of Matthew, God got a hold of me. Why do they want the Bible out of school? Because it is such a powerful tool. Wycliffe says 63% of the people come to Christ through reading the Bible. Jason, it's great to see you over there, by the way. So reading the Bible transformed me. God took me from paganism to patriotism. And he changed my life. Now let me just say that what we need to do is to rebuild our patriotism, our morality, and our spiritual life. The very things that Stalin wanted to tear down. And we're going to have to do that in our society in a unique way by recognizing the foundation is God. What is the foundation of the Constitution? Anybody here? You know what it is. What is it? The Declaration of Independence. And what is the foundation of the Declaration of Independence? What does it say in the beginning of this little document that we've got on the table over there? It says, we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What is the key word there? We are endowed by our Creator. What kind of a Creator is that? That is a Creator who loves us so much He created us so we could walk with Him and talk with Him. That is a Creator who loves us so much that when we fell into disharmony with Him, He sent His only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, to save us from our sins. He is a Creator who loves us enough, who will pay the ultimate price to rescue us from evil. And what have we done? At the foundation of the Declaration of Independence, it says we're endowed with certain inalienable rights from our Creator. That means something, because if we recognize that, then no king can take that away from us. And furthermore, it says if any civil government tries to take that away from us, what are we supposed to do? Overthrow them. That's what it says. We're supposed to overthrow them. We're not supposed to put up with it. Our rights do not come from King George or King Obama. They don't come from the will of the state. They don't come from the will of the elite in the media, where I work all the time. They don't come from the mob, the mobocracy. They come from God. And if we forget God, then the people in power are going to be corrupted by their power, like Stalin was, like Lenin was, like all of these people. I mean, you know, Lenin went to seminary, but power corrupted him. Lily, my wife standing over there, came from Argentina. Her family fled Peron. They were seizing her grandfather's farmland. They were seizing her other grandfather's little factory. Power knows no limits. It's a story as old as time. Ahab and Jezebel own everything in Israel. They look over the parapet and they see Naboth's vineyard, and what do they want to do? Kill Naboth and steal his vineyard. Now, the good news about the United States of America is that the U.S. Constitution protects us. Thou shalt not steal protects the little guy from being imposed upon by the government. And the ultimate protection is in the Bill of Rights, in the first Bill of Rights, the very first Bill of Rights, saying Congress shall make no law. What does that mean? No law, none, nada, respecting establishment of religion. Even Marxism, even humanism, as Marx said, it was the ultimate humanism. No law setting up a humanist religion in our society, which is what's happening right now, or prohibiting us from exercising our religion. This is the foundation of the rights that you have. The HHS mandate violates God's law. But going back to 1837, the state has been violating God's law ever since the Reverend Henry Norris said that the state had no right to regulate marriage. People were crying out, Catholics, dissenters, were crying out in the 1830s in England saying, the state cannot declare somebody man and wife because it is holy matrimony. We fell apart in 1837 when we let the state take over marriage. And since that time, we have let the state take over things that only belong to church polity, to ecclesiastic polity. It is a sacrament. It is holy matrimony. So if we think that it starts with the HHS mandate, we have ceded tremendous territory now against what it says in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And I'm telling you today, we've got to stop ceding that territory. Jason, who's going to be the last speaker here, may tell you about a movie that he raised money for called For Greater Glory. Has anybody seen For Greater Glory? You know, country after country that I visited, I just spoke in Spain, fell to dictatorship and socialism and all of the humanists taking people away from God. In Mexico in the 20s, if you see this film, the priests, the ministers, the Christians stood up. They stood up because the priests were being killed. They stood up because the churches were being defamed. And they stood against the forces of darkness, and they stopped the humanist dictator from doing the dirty deed of killing religion in Mexico. And at the end of it, they cried, Viva Cristo Rey. When I saw that, I said, why didn't Argentina stand up, where my wife came from? Why didn't Spain stand up today? Why didn't Russia stand up? Why didn't Germany stand up? Why didn't Poland stand up? Why don't we stand up? You know, if we're stand up filled with His Spirit, the gates of hell will not prevail. God will empower us when we stand up, as Regina prayed. We will have the power to take every thought captive for Him. When we started in Hollywood, there was only one movie with positive Christian content, Trip to Bountiful in 1985. Now it's 57% of the movies. With a little prayer, a priest being shown in a good light, a minister being shown in... Which would you prefer? One movie or 57%? What does this mean? It means that we can change the world. It's not up to me, it's up to you. Taking a stand. Now let me bring this home in a very important way. How many of you remember the Saint Telemachus? Nobody remembers Saint Telemachus? Jason, you don't remember Telemachus? No. Okay, Telemachus, at the heart of the gladiatorial games, when they were killing Christians in vile, horrible ways, was a priest from the outland. He came to Rome. He came into the game. He was shocked at the killings and the maimings and the murders. This little old frail priest jumped into the arena in the Colosseum and said, "Stop! In the name of Jesus Christ!" And a gladiator killed him, and his frail body fell, and his blood was poured out in the Colosseum. And Caesar got up and left, and everyone left, and there was never another gladiatorial game. Think about it. One man against the whole Roman Empire. When Pontius Pilate came to Israel, he killed 60,000 people in the first week. One man against the whole Roman Empire. You, every person here can be Telemachus. Every person here can walk out in the victory of Viva Cristo Rey, of the Cristeros movement. Every person here can stand against the encroachment of our rights. I'm asking you today, not just to go back to your homes and your jobs. I'm asking you to not just stand up for religious freedom. I'm asking you to jump into the center of the arena and say, "Stop," in the name of Christ. God bless you and have a wonderful day.